God-Empowered Life with Dr. Al Teresa Good Howard, a diligent seeker of the Word of God, student of history, the generals of the faith, understanding that we're standing on their shoulders. It is now our time and our turn to do the greater works of Jesus. She's an apostle, leader of leaders, successful radio personality, speaker with John Maxwell, Les Brown, and best-selling author with Jack Canfield. Her focus is empowering and equipping the next leaders, those who are ready to be used by God to see miracles, signs, and wonders. A lot of the problem that we're seeing and the continuation with having the frustrations is because we're not going out and doing things in a legal way and a judicial way to be able to help change policies and procedures, and doing it in the way that our country is set up to be able to do things in. We're not doing it that way, and so therefore we're not having people sometimes in those positions making these policies, hiring people, training people, leading things, and we're not having enough of them who really understand and are willing to even understand enough to help bring about things that will be able to help us all. Because people who are running, people who are in these positions, who need to be in these positions, are people who care about people. We need people who care about people. If you're going to be a politician, be one that really care about people, not care more about your party and your platform and your power, your position, your prestige, or whatever your agenda is. Got to be able to really care about people and care about all people, not just people of your party or of your ethnicity or of your background or your experience, but care about all people. And that's why I believe that it's time for the church to rise up. Because as the church to rise up, and more as pastors, we begin to preach for, not preach hate or preach us against them, but to also encourage our people to get in positions, to run for offices, to support those who would run for offices, and not be taken a silence when it comes to time to vote. And be out there, get in on these meetings, go to the school board meetings, the city council meetings, the county council meetings, all of these meetings that are out there. People are making decisions on our behalf that many times we know nothing about and have no voice in. You know that it is the mayor in the city that have to do with that's over the police departments. So you don't think that, I know sometimes when we look at the national platforms and we see that many times that maybe those things don't, that our voice is not going to make a difference when it comes to national things. Our voice is not being heard on the national platforms. And sometimes that can look like it's true. But if enough of us, just like you said, enough of the people gather together to protest, if all of those people that are out there protesting will go and make sure they're registered to vote and then vote, can you see what a difference that can be made? Because only so much you're going to be able to do by protesting. Yeah, you're going to be seen. You may get some traction, but the real change comes when you're able to get and start putting people in positions or taking people out of positions that are not caring for the people. And so it is important for us to get in on these things, to do these things, to be a part of these things. We need us churches not to tell people who to vote for, but to encourage them to vote. Not to try to tell them how it should be done, but to give them the necessary information to make decisions. To be able to say, hey, why don't you run for office? We support you. One of my greatest disappointments when I was running for mayor, and I got to get back to the mayor part because they make a difference in the local decision makings and the councils and things. But the biggest, I think, disappointment, not only was it that we didn't have many of our African Americans to come out to vote, and if we had, I would have won. But it's okay at this point. Things happen. I'm still able to work in the community, still able to do many things on boards and try to help our area move forward, our neighborhood move forward, even not being in the position, because I really don't like politics. And so I wasn't running because of being a politician or wanting to be a politician, but because I wanted to be able to help bring about change and the necessary positive change that was needed, and that care about all people and wanted to see all people be able to be better and live out a life where their families and their loved ones and their children and grandchildren and all will be able to have a better life and the life that they would desire to lead. But that wasn't the greatest disappointment. That was disappointing, but the greatest disappointment was that many preachers and many pastors were not supportive, and even asking, questioning why was I even running, that we shouldn't even, the church shouldn't even have any part in those things, that we shouldn't be bothering those things. We should just stay in the church and we should just, preach Jesus, which we do that in every arena that we can be in. But listen, we have to get out from inside of the church and to affect our community with the gospel of Jesus, but with Jesus living on the inside of us and us infiltrating every area of anything and every area in our society. We need us all in there. We need us in the political arena, because if we can have enough of us in the political arena, then we can have enough believers, people who do follow the word of God, the examples of Jesus, that will be able to do things in a more just way, in an equitable way, in a more fair way, in a way, and you got to understand that when the scriptures teach us, it teaches us that we're supposed to operate justly. Even though we know that in time past, many people can take the Bible and take anything and use it for a weapon against something if they want to, or take out pieces of it and parts of it and use it however we want to. We understand that the Ku Klux Klan and the supremacies, all of them, or many of them claim to be Christians. We understand that many times in slavery, many of them were called Christians and they said that they were Christians, but yet they enslaved people and they didn't want to have them free. We understand a lot of those things, but that didn't mean that all Christians are like that. It didn't mean that all Caucasian Christians are racist or supremacists or haters or anything, just like all black people are not all bad. There are some that can be, just like there are some in every ethnicity that can be, but not all of them are. Not all black people are thugs or wrong or doing wrong. Just like not all white people are doing wrong and all of those things. And so we got to understand it's an individual thing. It's not a whole thing. But it's needful for us to get in these positions so we can help people see that there is a difference. That there is a difference. That we can help them see that we all are valuable and need to be valued and treated in the valuable way. So as I said, when it comes to running for offices, or whether you're going for a position in the corporate arena, or in the banking, or in the educational institutions, or in the technology institutions, in the media, we're Christians are needed in every of those arenas. We're needed. So we've got to begin to encourage us. But in particular in the politics where the policies are changed, even locally, if not nationally. Locally, I said the mayor is the one that's over the police department. The mayor, the city council, many times they have the county councils are over a lot of the things that have to do with the inner workings of our communities. And if we get involved in these things, the school board determining things with education of our children, if more and more of us Christians were in the educational, when they began to start trying to take prayer out of school, maybe it wouldn't have been taken out. We're needed in every arena. And so I encourage us as people of God, as a church, rise up, stand for what is right, not just for certain things, but for everything. And we need more and more to stand up for justices to take place and the injustices to be undone. We need a change in the police departments, the way that they are handling things. Because one of the sad things that I hear many that are saying is when they're looking at how African Americans are treated, when they either commit a crime or sometimes even, many times, even when they haven't committed a crime. And we look at the way that they're treated versus the way that we have seen some young Caucasian males going out and shoot up schools, shoot up malls, go on killing sprees, Even looking at the young man that went and shot up Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and killed all of those African Americans because for whatever reason he hated African Americans. He went in the church and killed them. When we see some of these things, and then when we see the police department and the police officers capturing them, there's no excessive force. Many times there's no force at all. We see them just handcuff them, take them out, put them in the police car, take them to the police department. No, nothing. You see no bruises, no anything to them, no harm come to them. And they are carrying bags and bags of weapons and artillery and guns and all kinds of things, and known that they have killed up some people. Just recently, young man killed and shot up people in our local college. And all of these things that we're seeing, and the majority of them, unless they do something and literally commit suicide themselves, most of the time they walk out of those situations and in prison. But yet, many of the people that are out here protesting are seeing that if it was an African American male, they wouldn't have made it out of there. Why they believe that? Because they're seeing so many African American males that are doing some crimes and some not even committing any crime, but yet are treated so harshly and so unjustly, to the place of where we saw recently of George Floyd, who was believed to have committed a crime of I think fraud. But we see when they accosted him, he didn't resist arrest. He didn't put up any kind of fight. We haven't seen anything where he put up any kind of fight or said anything or did anything. But we see them, they were able to get him, handcuffed him. We see him being taken out of his car and immediately being taken and turned around and handcuffed and brought out, and for whatever reason, then send the police officer, throw him on the ground and put his knee on his neck and literally keep it there, even though he hollered that he can't breathe. And some people have even said, well, if he was able to say and get out that he can't breathe, then that means that shows that he could breathe. Come on, y'all. Come on. This is a life. This is a life. Come on, you really can't be that insensitive. If that was your loved one, literally, if we can think about it, if that was our loved one, if that was our father, our son, our husband, our cousin, our whomever, if that was ours, really, if he can say I can't breathe, then he's getting some air, but we can see his air is leaving him, and we see him literally on the camera die in front of us. So let's not be insensitive. Come on. Wrong is wrong. We hold police officers to a high standard. I support the police department. We encourage the support of the police department. In our area, we do a lot of things in support of our police department. And we believe that majority of the police officers are good people, are out here protecting and defending us as they are held to do and called to do and said that they would be willing to do. And so this is not against the police department. It is against those who are doing wrong and treating people wrongly. And even among us, it's got to be where we have people in the police department that can stand up and say wrong is wrong when they see wrong. Not hold to it that just because I'm one of you, then if I see wrong, I turn the other cheek. We've had that too long. You wouldn't want that to happen if that was your loved one. You wouldn't want someone to do that if that was your family member being treated in that way. So we've got to think about it. We understand that if it's not you, then many times if it's not me, if it's not us, we may not think about it. We may not say anything. We may not do anything. But if it come knocking at our door, we may. But sometimes we've got to speak up even when it's not knocking on our door at that time, because there may be a time something like that could come knocking at your door. And so we have to help one another. We've got to value one another. No, don't be going out here shooting and killing and trying to hurt other police officers because of what some police officers have done. Because the majority of them are not bad. The majority of them are good and want to help protect and defend in their communities. But those who are bad gotta say something. Just like the parties that we're in. Sometimes even in our political parties, when there is wrong, we've got to say it's wrong, regardless to who it is, and regardless to what a party affiliation, and regardless to how it is. Listen, we can still love someone and we can still support them, but we got to be able to help them see if they're wrong. As a leader, I've told my people, and when I was a pastor of an individual church, and now as an apostle over many churches, I tell my people, listen, if I'm wrong, one, I say this, only follow me to the degree that I'm following Christ and doing things according to the things of Christ, doing things in the right manner, right way. But if I am wrong, you don't follow me, because there's no reason for both of us to be in a ditch. There's no reason to have wrong and wrong, because two wrongs don't make a right. And if you see me do wrong, as a leader, if you're doing wrong, you must surround yourself with people that can speak to you, that can tell you when you're wrong, and you be able to have an ear to hear them and to change your ways. Everything about Christianity is repent, turn, change from the way that you're going and go in the right direction and do things in the right way. So as leaders, in whatever leadership, from the highest to the lowest, from the church to the world, when it comes to leadership, it is a necessity for us to have to understand when we are doing something wrong and in error, and to allow people to be able to speak into our lives, to let us know, because we may not see it, and to have people that are courageous enough, and to have people that will stand up and say that that is wrong. We've got to be able to do this, because otherwise, what will we be teaching our children? What are we showing our children? Some of us will be, in the next 100 years, may be gone. But our children and our grandchildren, what country are we trying to raise up for them? What church are we trying to raise up for them? What examples do we want to give them? What are we teaching them and showing them? Because we show them greater than we tell them. There used to be a word that was said, and many people would say this, many adults would tell their children, you just do as I say do, not as I do. But that doesn't work anymore, because our actions, what we're saying, what we're doing, what we're displaying is speaking louder than what we're actually telling them or saying for them to do. Things got to change. There are many things that have to change. We are a part of the change, but we've got to make sure we're going to be a part of the positive change. Yes, we've got to pray. And we've got to pray for everyone in all positions and all levels. Pray for our police officers. Pray for our leaders in the church, out of the church, in all ways. We've got to pray for one another. We've got to pray for those who hate us, those who use us, abuse us, all of those things. But we also have to stand up and do something. The reason why we're saying to vote, people in the church, stop using and being hypocritical when we tell people that, we're not going to be involved in those things, and you shouldn't protest, and you shouldn't go out and do these things and take action. But then, and we turn around on the other time and we tell them to take action and go and vote. That is the same, in the same arenas of things, to be actively pursuing things that will change things in our world, in our system. And so all of it is needful. You don't have to protest. But if they do protest, we want it to be a protest that is nonviolent and that will not hinder, but be able to help. But if you choose not to protest, you can still find other ways to be able to help. But whether you choose to protest or not, you do have the right to do it. And so we're not saying that you don't have the right. We just want you to do it in a way that you're not hurting the issue, that you're not hurting things, but that you're able to help. I've got to end now. I've got to go. I don't know how much time it's been. I know I'm feeling passionately about it because I'm seeing so many lives that are being threatened. I'm seeing the injustices, but I'm also seeing the judgment. And I'm hearing things and people not understanding why a lot of times African Americans are doing what they're doing and feeling that they're being threatened by it. They took a lot of issue against Colin Kaepernick, I think is the way his name is pronounced, and many others who began to take a knee and brought divide because many people thought he was against our country and against the flag and against the saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and that wasn't what it was about at all. It was literally about the injustices and some people found that doing that, now I may not do that, but my patriotism is not being compared to theirs. If they say they're a patriot, then we can believe that what they say. But if they're saying they're doing this because of making a statement that the country that they love so much, and the country that many of our fathers and brothers and sons have served in the military along with others to help defend this country, and the things that we do in love and support of our country, but yet the same country that we serve and we love have been allowing the injustices that we've been seeing. And so therefore they took a knee. And I pray that many of you that took issue with those young men, and there were white ones that came along with them to knee as well to help show that they supported them. But I hope that every one of you that had an issue with them taking that knee during the time, I hope that you're also taking issue with the injustices that you're seeing. I hope you're not being silent now and seeing the officer with his knee on his neck. If it was another Caucasian young man and he put his knee on his neck, it would be wrong. If it's an African American, which it was, and the police officer put his knee on his neck, and this man lost his life, it is wrong. If it was a Hispanic or an Asian or a Native American or an Indian or whomever, what ethnicity, it would be wrong, no matter who it was. But disproportionately, these things are happening to African American males. And there are many other examples that I could give that I know of personally. I have sons, and there are things that have taken place when they've been stopped by some police officers. And there are some things, thankfully it did not end wrongly. Just recently had a church member, young 20-something-year-old, was stopped by a police officer because of his light being out, his headlight being out, one of the headlights being out. Was asked to get out of the car, had his license, had everything, his insurance, his license, his registration, everything. Asked to get out of the car for whatever reason. Got out of the car, made him walk the line to see if he had been drinking, trying to find something. I don't know if it was because of racism. The police officer was Caucasian. The young man was African American. I don't know if it was or not, but I know it was wrong what took place. He walked the line. He was afraid because of all the things that we see happening. And so he was a little wobbly, unstable. Ended up arresting him, taking him downtown, saying that he was intoxicated, saying that he was DUI, put DUI on the paperwork, and even put DUI, and that he refused to take a breathalyzer test when there was no breathalyzer machine that was there. They had to take him, and he had to have that test once he got downtown. Once he got downtown, he blew a 0. Listen to me. This is the things that are happening. People are upset about. He blew a 0 He was later released, but before he was released, he was held overnight in jail. Young man, no record. Hadn't done anything wrong. Only thing he had wrong was that he had a headlight that was out. Arrested. Put in jail. Given the breathalyzer test. Breathalyzer test 0. He was not intoxicated. Had nothing to drink. Nothing in his system. But still held overnight in jail. We had to go through some things. Had to talk through with some people. Had to get to some law enforcement. Thank God, being in the positions that we're in many times, knowing some of the people that are in positions that can be talked to and that are reasonable and looking for justice and not injustice. And they did finally drop the charges after a week or so. But these are things that are happening. And people are getting tired of them. So that's why we see a lot of the response, a lot of the things. Don't agree with it all. No, I don't agree with it all. But I understand where it's coming from. We're going to continue to pray for them. We're asking you to pray. But we're asking for more than prayer to help bring about the necessary change and justices that are needed. And the better change that's needed for all. We're a land that's supposed to be for all, for the people. Churches, rise up, help teach, help train, help encourage, but also help support when it comes to governmental things as well as we do in the gospel. But until another time, stay safe, stay prayerful, stay awake, and be about doing good and doing right.
God-Empowered Life with Dr. Al Teresa Goodhoward, a diligent seeker of the Word of God, student of history, the generals of the faith, understanding that we're standing on their shoulders. It is now our time and our turn to do the greater works of Jesus. She's an apostle, leader of leaders, successful radio personality, speaker with John Maxwell, Les Brown, and best-selling author with Jack Canfield. Her focus is empowering and equipping the next leaders, those who are ready to be used by God to see miracles, signs, and